I'm starting to realize that putting this on my 4th of July party playlist was a bad idea.
Welcome back to the Deep DISCOG Dive. Today, we're talking about Sufjan Stevens. Let's dive in.
Hey, it's Rick. Our next guest coined the phrase, talk to the hand. Smurfman sassafras.
Sufjan Stevens was born in Detroit in July 1975. He's 5 years older than Pitbull. He spent most of his childhood in Allenson, Michigan. His father and stepmother, Rajid and Pat, raised him for the most part, but he got to go out to Oregon sometimes to visit his mother and stepfather, Carrie and Lowell. I smell a great album title. Lowell was the one who exposed Sufjan to music from the Beatles, Frank Zappa, Bob Dylan, many of the greats. Sufjan first learned how to play music through lessons for oboe and piano, but he wouldn't join any groups until he attended Hope College in Holland, Michigan. He was part of Marzuki, a folk rock band in which he played whistles. I believe the band is named after his brother, who actually trained for the 2008 Olympics. Fun fact. The second was Con Los Dudes, but there is like no footage or recorded evidence of this band, so imagine this was them. It was during Sufjan's final semester at Hope when he released his first album, A Sun Came, in June 2000. Truthfully though, the album was mostly recorded in 1998. Sufjan just put the finishing touches on it while in college. A good metric of quality for any Sufjan Stevens album is how long it takes for the flutes to kick in. Ooh, that was like instantaneous, which of course means A Sun Came is the best Sufjan Stevens album. If you've ever heard a Sufjan song before, this first track might seem right in line with your expectations. Acoustic instrumentation, gentle whisper singing, references to religion, flutes. But A Sun Came as an album is noteworthy in Sufjan's catalog for something that he would go on to do quite often. Get Freaky, A Winner Needs a Wand, demonstrates how Sufjan can somehow make 5/4 a super groovy meter. A Loverless Bed is perhaps the closest Sufjan ever came to being a shoegaze artist. Dmitri sounds like a Marzuki track with its rough guitar tone and rustic drum sound. Rice Pudding sounds like dudes noodling in a garage. A couple of tracks are these pitch-shifted spoken word passages.
Oh, my name is, Godzuki. Ya big fella.
You also have a song called Super Sexy Woman.
She'll shoot us super far. The deadly silent kind.
What the f*** was Sufjan thinking? Hey! Everyone's got their thing, okay? You have a song called Satan's Saxophones that sounds like... Joy, Joy, Joy wouldn't be added until the 2001 reissue, and it probably has the strongest hook on the entire album, a nice cleanser after Satan's Saxophones, which was, upon initial release, the closing track. Imagine if society stayed that way. With this album, Sufjan's sun had not yet come, but no doubt it was rising. A Sun Came got like one review around when it came out, and by that I mean a 2002 zine review, but whatever, this was just a freewheeling debut by a new songwriter as he was finishing up college, on a new record label too. A Sun Came was the first release by Asthmatic Kitty, a label founded by Sufjan and his stepfather Lowell. This is the label through which Sufjan will release all mainline albums from here on out. After graduating from Hope, Sufjan moved to New York City, where he would get an MFA in creative writing at the New School. This is also when he would release his second album, Enjoy Your Rabbit, in September 2001. Not that one day, if you're wondering. Oh boy, I can't wait for a logical continuation of the acoustic instrumentation he was doing on A Sun Came. So hear me out, trust me with the sacred knowledge I'm about to pass on to you. Enjoy Your Rabbit is, in fact, actually a programmatic song cycle centered around the Chinese zodiac, comprised of glitched out electronica and almost no vocals. You've heard of the sophomore slump, now check out the sophomore U-turn. But this still has hooks. Listen to that groove on Year of the Ox. Like, come on, how can you not be dancing to that? Or the delicacy of Year of the Tiger, or the meditative layering on Year of the Dragon, or what sounds like processed animal noises on Year of the Sheep. Is this what androids dream of when they dream of electric sheep? But Sufjan is a Blade Runner as he darts across the fine line between noise and melody on this album. And while Enjoy Your Rabbit seems like a wildcard entry in Sufjan's discography, it may actually be the most quietly crucial record in the bunch. You'll see what I mean later. Also, brief tangent, skipping ahead very briefly, if you enjoy this album in any capacity, I recommend Run Rabbit Run by String Quartet Osso. It's the same album as Enjoy Your Rabbit, but it's performed entirely on strings. If this is your favorite Sufjan Stevens album, you're a freak. Enjoy Your Rabbit got a couple reviews in noteworthy music publications like Pitchfork and E-Bomb's World, but it was still not enough for Sufjan to quit his day job at the time with Time Warner's children's book division. No matter though, Sufjan soon started work on another album. Michigan, or Sufjan Stevens Presents Greetings from Michigan, the Great Lakes State, released in July 2003. We are back to the acoustic and organic instrumentation from A Sun Came, but there's a notable step up in arrangement and production. Sufjan Stevens recorded this album in a cave, various locations in the Northeast US, with a box of scraps, a couple SM57s and a C1000. One of the locations he recorded at was St. Paul's in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn. I highlight this place because my brother used to work here and I have played the piano heard on this record. I haven't washed my hands since. Most people know this album as a love letter to Michigan, Sufjan's de facto home state. They also know it for starting what would soon be known as the 50 States Project, Sufjan's stated goal to record an album for every US state. However, Michigan tends to be overshadowed by the following record in this project. Is that treatment deserved? No. Does it make sense why it happens? Yeah, your younger brother gets the spotlight all the time, but look, he just did a cool split. That future record is bombastic and extravagant. Michigan is quaint and measured across its runtime. Even the most exuberant tracks only ever reach a rousing jaunt. I think this difference in energy makes sense. The vistas I envision on Michigan aren't bustling cities, they're quiet fields or even sorrowful memories. Opener Flint is melancholic as heck, which I suppose matches the city that it is based on. Okay, that makes sense. Romulus not only references the suburb of the same name, but also the Greek figure whose mother abandoned him at a young age. But hey, Michigan is not a downer for the whole runtime. For the widows in Paradise, for the fatherless in Ypsilanti, that's a happier, more straightforward love song. Holland is a beautiful recounting of a hot summer fling. All good naysayers, speak up or forever hold your peace. Yes! Sufjan has this marvelous ability to make songs in mixed meters, the grooviest things you've ever heard. The final three songs put a real nice bow on this album. Oh God, Where Are You Now, In Pickerel Lake, Pigeon, Marquette, Mackinac is a slow burn plea to God, as you might have gathered from the title. Redford for Yaya and Papu is a stunning piano piece that sounds like God revealing herself before Sufjan. It has also become a defining song in Sufjan's career, showing up in the most random places. It soundtracked a Red Bull ad, for heck's sake. Then Vito's ordination song is sung by Reverend Thomas Vito Ayudo and strikes me as God answering Sufjan, asking him to rest in her arms. Great little trilogy right there. Michigan received the most press of any Sufjan record so far. So what state was he gonna tackle next? Honestly, I hear the weather in Seven Swans this time of year is lovely. Seven Swans, released in March 2004. Yeah, how about you show me Seven Shawns? How about that? Maybe then I'll be impressed. Sufjan may not have written songs about Sean from Hot Ones, which would not exist for another 11 years, so instead he had to settle for songs about the Bible. His inspirations for many of these songs were stories of Jesus and God and the devil and the Bible's other characters. Sometimes it's a literal story retelling, like the Transfiguration. Others are more vague in their connection, like Size Too Small being about a best man at a wedding whose tux is too small. I remember Leviticus. All the Trees of the Field Will Clap Their Hands opens the record with this ominous, meditative lumbering. There's something so comforting yet disconcerting about that banjo. The dress looks nice on you. Oh, now we're getting into the bangers. To Be Alone With You as well, that's a nice low-key love song. A Good Man Is Hard to Find is not based on the Bible, but rather a short story by Flannery O'Connor. I like this version, but I prefer another version of it that I will touch on later. The title track is nothing short of stunning, a hodgepodge of various biblical references that all capture a sense of awe and almost terror, especially once you reach the climax where Sufjan says, "'Cause he is the Lord." If Vito's ordination song depicted a kinder God, Seven Swans shows a God to be fearful of. Great album. Seven Swans was another critical success for Sufjan, but okay, actually though, what was next for the 50 States project? Well, I love fluorite. Which state has that as the state mineral? Yeah! On the 4th of July, 2005, Sufjan Stevens invited us to come on Feel the Illinois. This one was recorded in much the same way as Michigan. Various spaces in the Northeast, only a handful of mics. You might not guess the lo-fi style from how ornate and decorated the production can be, but actually, I think you can. This is true of Michigan as well. Both records have an overall timbre that is, and I don't mean this in a bad way, flat. I don't get the feeling that Sufjan did much EQing on anything. Everything sounds like what it is. The impression I get is that it's a very unpretentious sound. Illinois also mirrors Michigan in its structure, both open with lovely piano pieces. For Illinois, it's concerning the UFO sighting near Highland, Illinois. Instead of the downtrodden feel that Flint had, there's a poignant wonder being captured here.
The flashing at night, the sirens grow and grow.
All right, time for the bops. Come on, Feel the Illinois. Jam. John Wayne Gacy Jr. is one of the darker songs on the record, recounting the evil actions of John in these sharp, short descriptions, the lives he hurt, the pain he caused. And then Sufjan says,
In my best behavior, I am really just like him.
"No, bestie, no!" I remember this line generating a wee bit of controversy, as if Sufjan would just casually admit a history of murder like that. I think it's clear that he is reflecting on how unassuming and innocent John was to most people, and how anyone could be hiding dark secrets. And that's not even the biggest sucker punch. Casimir Pulowski Day, anyone? The story of Sufjan's childhood friend dying of cancer and the fracturing of his relationship with God?
In the morning, when you finally go, and the nurse runs in with her head blown low, and the gardener lets the window.
And it has one of his funniest lyrics. "The man in Metropolis steals our hearts" is a nice slice of garage rock. The predatory wasp of the Palisades is out to get us is the key representative for the two most thought of qualities of Sufjan's music: Christian and gay. And while Sufjan's discography displays so many other facets, this particular song is definitely Christian and gay. It's a tender, nostalgic love song, but let's be real, all those other songs are weak. They're not, they're all good songs. I'm doing this for dramatic effect. When compared to Chicago.
You came to take us, all things go, all things go.
Do I even gotta say anything about this one? It's Chicago. This is likely the first song you think of when you think of Sufjan. It's certainly his most present in pop culture. It was in the film Little Miss Sunshine, which is about a road trip from New Mexico to California. It was the theme song for Netflix's The Politician, a series that takes place in Santa Barbara and New York, and it served as the name inspiration for the All Things Go Festival, which takes place in Maryland. Illinois is a remarkable accomplishment through and through, and I'd say a seminal album of the 2000s. Please check it out if you have not heard it yet. It's at this point that we have to truly reckon with how immense Sufjan's musical output has been. While he only has 9 mainline albums to his name, he has released so many more, either under different aliases or with different groups. It's kind of like MF Doom in that sense. I will not be going in depth on every single record that he has touched, but I will stop to talk about the ones that I have something to say. Illinois was a smash hit in every sense. Bizarrely enough, Sufjan didn't plan on touring the album, but he did change his mind. He went out on the road with the Illinois Makers for chunks of 2005 and 2006. I'd like to point out how Sufjan's band was a bit of a training ground for some soon-to-be prominent musicians. St. Vincent, Bryce Dessner from The National, Sharonova, aka My Brightest Diamond. No TV appearances though, except for Austin City Limits, which I'm going to highlight now. It's not unique for artists to play ACL, everybody's done it, even Magic's done it, or at least they will once Austin PBS acknowledges my billboards! But Sufjan's stop is special for two reasons. One, they play A Good Man Is Hard to Find in a new key and with a new outro with new lyrics. This is my favorite version of this song. And two, Predatory Wasp not only gets played in F major, the best key, but they also add a gorgeous string and piano outro. Once again, my favorite version of this song. Sadly, Illinois would end up being the final 50 States album. Sufjan would later say the 50 States project was a marketing gimmick and it would not be completed. Don't worry though, you will still hear jokes about it to this day from the least funny people in your life. But in case you're deficient in US state-based albums, may I recommend The Avalanche? Shamelessly compiled by Sufjan Stevens. Hey, he said it, not me. It's another 21 tracks from the Illinois sessions. Most noteworthy are the 3 new versions of Chicago: Acoustic, Adult Contemporary Easy Listening, and Multiple Personality Disorder. Now, I do need to preemptively apologize. We are not going to be spending a lot of time on Sufjan's personal life, honestly because there's not much to touch on in the first place. He is not one to seek out the tabloid attention, you know? However, we did get a nice bit of news in 2006. Pitchfork reported that he and singer-songwriter Rosie Thomas had a baby! Oh, that's so sweet! Sufjan even wrote to Pitchfork following the reveal. He said, "First of all, I would like to thank everyone who called or sent notes of congratulations about the news of my baby. I am so proud." Secondly, the baby is a hoax. Yeah, turns out it was an April Fool's prank by friends that got printed sincerely. Don't use this as an attempt to bash Pitchfork, by the way. This was nearly 20 years ago. The people who did this probably don't work there anymore. To close out 2006, we got Songs for Christmas. This is a 5-disc collection of EPs Sufjan had released over the 5 years prior. So it's basically Christmas songs, new and old, with production in line with Michigan and Illinois. I am myself partial to his renditions of Amazing Grace, Count Thou Fount of Every Blessing, and Oh Holy Night. Little Drummer Boy 2 doesn't have a Busta Rhymes verse like the best version, but still good. As far as originals go, there's Put the Lights on the Tree with its cute animated music video, That Was the Worst Christmas Ever, which poignantly details a depressing holiday, and Sister Winter, which is actually straight up one of Sufjan's best songs. This is a lovely compilation album. Put it on rotation at your upcoming Christmas party, though maybe take Worst Christmas Ever off, lest you play a 42-round Russian roulette of depression. In November 2007, Sufjan premiered a film and live soundtrack combo centered on New York City's Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. In October 2009, that expressway-type project received a release as the BQE. Gotta say, I love the cover design for this record. I still have my copy from my college radio days. The music itself is a continuation of the orchestration Sufjan had nailed on Illinois. I don't know if this would emotionally hit you if you don't have some connection to the protagonist city, but still, it's beautifully orchestrated. I don't know, the human experience is vast. Some guy in Colby, Kansas probably loves this thing to death. The highlight for me is Movement 3, Linear Tableau with Intersecting Surprise. Stellar interweaving flute parts, I love it. In 2010, he popped up on The National's High Violet, the band that former tourmate Bryce Dessner was in. He announced some tour dates throughout the US. He dropped an album on August 24th, 2010. Oh wait, sorry. That last one was Teenage Dream. I get them confused all the time. Sufjan actually released the All Delighted People EP on August 20th, 2010. The focus of this EP is the 2 versions of the title track, original and classic rock. Both are very good and a step up and away from the orchestration of Illinois. Instead of anything stately though, the scope is a bit larger and darker. There's an apocalyptic undertone to these songs, some chaotic guitar and synth parts reminiscent of Suf's early days or Man of Metropolis. Also, multiple references to the sound of silence.
And the people bowed and prayed, and the people bowed and prayed.
Enchanting Ghost comes off like a sincere breakup song. Heirloom is a more conventional display of affection towards someone. The Owl and the Tanager is a haunting piano ballad about the shame Sufjan carries in a relationship. The lyrics this time just seem more personal than before. Wonder if that'll be a trend going forward. Overall, All Delighted People is a nice synthesis of Illinois, the BQE, and what's about to happen next. Less than 2 months after All Delighted People raised their hands, we entered the Age of Adz. Huh. They say to never judge a book by its cover, but sometimes it works. What you're looking at is the work of Royal Robertson. His artwork was the result of schizophrenic hallucinations, visions of the apocalypse. And you know what? Sufjan had also been dealing with a rare virus that put him in great pain, and this album was a way to process said pain. So, what does this one sound like? It's like if the Sufjan of Illinois stayed up late enjoying his rabbit. The sounds of those two records combining not like a graceful duet, but like a car crash. This album is musically hysterical. And I don't mean funny hysterical, I mean your aunt is at the Christmas party and she's been having too many highballs. Hysterical. Which you wouldn't assume based on the opener, Feudal Devices. This is proof Sufjan could be a magician because it's some phenomenal sleight of hand. It comes off like a typical Sufjan love song for the first half, then he hits you with this line.
And I would say I love you, but saying it out loud is hard, so I won't say it at all.
What makes the leap even more severe is Sufjan's not singing about a state anymore. This is Sufjan at his most raw and naked, with many of these songs describing a rough breakup. Sufjan! My mother's watching! Interesting tidbit, he did an interview later on for another record where he said that he finds it more natural to tell stories when writing songs on guitar or banjo, but he sings about personal feelings instead when working on a laptop. An interesting reversal of what you might expect, the idea that real instruments automatically means authenticity. You may have picked up on this, but I am fascinated by this record. There are days where I would say this is his best album, if only to watch the pedants on Twitter fight. And damn, there are some beautiful moments. The cascading explosion that ends too much, the apocalyptic title track, the gorgeous voice leading on Now That I'm Older, the woozy beat contrasting the unrestrained harmonies on All For Myself, which, fun fact, was sampled on To Pimp a Butterfly.
Your own boy, you block that you're from, boo-boo. Little hoes you went to school with, boo-boo.
Or even I Walked, which is the closest thing to a more conventional pop Sufjan song. It also goes really well with if there's a crown jewel to be found, it's the 25-minute closing suite, Impossible Soul. I wish you and I could just be in a room and play the song, just sit and take it in. It technically has 5 sections to it, but it's bursting with enough ideas for 20. You know what? Screw it. This is his best album. Have fun with that take in the comment section. Age of Adz peaked at number 7 on the Billboard album chart. It remains, to this day, his most commercially successful album. I love to imagine someone who only knew Sufjan from Chicago playing this. He toured the record for a good while, and man, I wish I could have seen it. This is one of those tours that I will forever kick myself for missing. Look at this man! In 2011, the song Redford appeared on The Roots' album Undone. Mind you, The Roots did not cover Redford, they simply put the Sufjan original on the album. It works. March 2012 saw the release of Beak and Claw, the first EP by SSS, a group made up of Sufjan, rapper Serengeti, and Ryan Lott from art pop band Sun Lux. As a freak who loves Age of Adz, I get down with this EP quite a bit, especially the opener, Museum Day.
All I want is witness. Put your hands in fire.
The summer of that year, he started touring a song cycle based on the solar system. He did it in collaboration with James McAllister, Nico Muhly, and Bryce Dessner. It was called Planetarium. You suck! We would not see a recorded version of this show for 5 years. But don't think that stopped a young Mike from religiously playing live cuts of Jupiter on repeat because the vocal effects sounded so cool. In October, the ballet Year of the Rabbit premiered. This was another adaptation of Enjoy Your Rabbit, this time choreographed by Justin Peck and performed by the New York City Ballet. It would also mark the first of many collaborations between Sufjan and Justin Peck. Closing out 2012 was Sufjan's second compilation of Christmas tunes, Silver and Gold. Like Songs for Christmas, this is another set of 5 EPs of Christmas tunes, this time recorded between 2006 and 2012. And once again, it's a mix of classics and new songs. What sets SNG apart from SFC is the use of electronic elements like on Age of Adz. A rendition of Do You Hear What I Hear takes on a darker tone when it's sung by Robo Sufjan. Hell, Joy to the World straight up has an interpolation of one of the Impossible Soul sections. Beyond the sound though, there's also just a real freaky vibe to this compilation. Take a guess whether you think I like this. But it's okay. Put a cover of Prince's Alphabet Street on your Christmas album. Who even cares? Some other highlights include Lumberjack Christmas, No One Can Save You from Christmas's Past, and Christmas in the Room. That last one specifically is one of my favorite Christmas songs ever. A tender ode to making Christmas your own with just the one you love. And who could forget Christmas Unicorn, a dance party all about the holly jolly horned horse. Oh, that's Joy Division. That's Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division. You put Love Will Tear Us Apart by Joy Division in the sing-along outro of your song called Christmas Unicorn. Coming up on C-SPAN. Can he do that? 2013 was a quiet year for Sufjan. Again, we're not dealing with a spotlight seeker here, but in March 2014, we got Sisyphus by Sisyphus. This is the first and so far only full-length collaboration of the renamed team behind SSS, Sufjan, Serengeti, Sunlux. And the thematic focus this time seems to be the depressing side of partying and debauchery. One must imagine Sisyphus crying in the club. Calm It Down and Rhythm of Devotion both serve as great maturations of the Beak and Claw songs with warbled synths and traded vocal lines between Suf and Serengeti. Take Me is a rare sensual track by Sufjan. I remember a demo of it circulating on the music blogs a few years prior, and it's very nice to have an official version available. It's then followed by Booty Call.
I don't ever wanna be a fucking peanut.
I know, and you won't. Alcohol may be one of my favorite album closers for how unsettling and droning it is, but then you get the ending minute and a half where the production opens up and Sufjan comes in with the yelling. Sisyphus by Sisyphus is not the first album by Sufjan you should listen to. Because it's not by Sufjan, I just said it's by Sisyphus. But I admire it for the same reason as Age of Adz, the freakiness. A new Sufjan album was not far out after Sisyphus. It was announced in January 2015 and released in March, Carrie Lowell. So, who's ready to resurface familial trauma? I must tell you now that I have not revealed all necessary info to you. I mentioned how Sufjan as a child would split time between families, but I did not mention that he and his siblings were abandoned by their mother Carrie at a very young age, or the fact that she dealt with a variety of mental illnesses, or the fact that she passed away in 2012. As the title might suggest, this album is about Sufjan's grieving and the fallout of that death. Now, let's start here. This album is amazing. I put this on my top 10 albums of the 2010s. This should not be surprising. Even if you don't know who I am, it's a statistically inevitable fact that this will be mentioned in 2010's album discussion, much the same way that Illinois is brought up in 2000's discourse. However, this was my first time listening to this album in years, and a bit of personal backstory, my dad passed away about 2 years ago, so now I was drawing from a similar experience when listening to Carrie Lowell. This thing will fucking ruin you. Have you heard this album after losing a parent? I don't mean that as gatekeeping. The album will still bulldoze you regardless of your own experience. But I'm telling you, check this out after losing a parent or any close one, and that bulldozer is gonna be a lot bigger. What makes this album hit so hard is the production. You're not getting ornate orchestration this time. You're lucky if you get any more than Sufjan and guitar. Maybe piano if you're on good behavior. There is not much hope on this album. Not none, of course. Should Have Known Better pays mine to Sufjan's brother's newborn daughter. Eugene has one of the funniest lines in any Sufjan song.
And he called me Subaru.
But there are tracks like John My Beloved and No Shade in the Shadow of the Cross that are just uncompromising in their sorrow. I don't want to do this one. Don't do this to me, man. Think about what you're doing, okay? 4th of July is framed as a conversation between Sufjan and his mother, capturing their attempts at genuine closure before it's too late and the immediate fallout of her death.
The hospital asked, should the body be gassed before I say goodbye, my star in the sky?
Then you get the outro, which is simply punctuated with the repeated cries of "We're all gonna die. Fuck, 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 fuck." You should listen to Carrie Lowell, and afterwards, you should tell someone close to you that you love them. Carrie Lowell was rapturously received, with many considering it his best album, or at least up there with Illinois. Sufjan toured for this album through 2015, and he also did a bunch of festival dates in 2016, which surprised me. I would never have envisioned Sufjan playing Coachella of all places, but lo and behold, he did.
I'm gonna die. You're gonna die.
Your hamster is gonna die, your oncologist is gonna die, the Hamburglar is gonna die. In April 2017, a recording of this tour was released as Carrie Lowell Live. I got to see this tour when it came through town, and you might think this is just a one-to-one replication of the album, but oh no, I'll be straight up, production-wise, this is a completely different album from Carrie Lowell. Sufjan brought out the band for this one, and these songs are fleshed out so excellently. Sometimes it's a linear translation like No Shade, sometimes it's the song but with greater dynamic contrast like Death with Dignity or the title track, sometimes you get a full-on revision like the now synth-heavy All of Me Wants All of You, and both 4th of July and Blue Bucket of Gold are now gargantuan wrecking balls. Blue Bucket's outro is its own song. That's how you know they're not messing around. The live album closes with a very special song, and Sufjan actually once said that this was supposed to be on the main record, but it was just too emotionally raw and unsettling even for him. So he kept it off the record, but it's now on this live recording. Here it is.
You used to call me on my cell phone. Late night when you need my love.
I remember when my dad did that. When he called me on my cell phone. This is a great live album and one you should definitely check out after the original Carrie Lowell. Later in July 2017, we finally got the recorded version of Planetarium, that song cycle Sufjan did with Bryce Dessner and James McAllister and Nico Muhly. As that personnel might lead you to believe, album pretty, Saturn with its dance floor beat in the second half, Mars with the disgusting, positive vocoding, Earth with the all of the runtime, Pluto with its gorgeous string swells. The only bummer for me personally was actually Jupiter. I think I ran through the live versions on YouTube so many times that I was accustomed to how the vocoding sounded, but on the record, it naturally sounds different. You lock in with this thing and you're getting yet another densely decadent album from Sufjan and the boys. Even a tour of the planets wasn't enough for Sufjan in 2017. In November, he provided 2 songs for the film Call Me By Your Name. Now, Mystery of Love was the lead single, and it is an excellent continuation of the sound from Carrie and Lowell, but for me, Visions of Gideon, that's the contemplative barn burner, the empath banger, especially when it's paired with, can I spoil the scene that it's in? Film came out 6 years ago. If you haven't seen it, that's on you. The end credit scene where Timothée Chalamet shimmy is bawling his eyes out. He wasn't done with movie songs though. In December, he released 2 versions of the song Tonya Harding, one in D major and one in E flat major. Try and guess which is which. Both are beautiful, but did not make it into the 2017 Tonya Harding movie. Sufjan did send the song to the team behind I, Tonya, but they turned it down for some reason. No matter though, his work on Call Me By Your Name scored him an Oscar nomination, and in March 2018, he played Mystery of Love at the ceremony. He hated that shit. The only 2019 release was The Decalogue, an album comprised of material from the ballet of the same name by Justin Peck. Don't have much to say about this one, it's fine. Sufjan did release a decent amount of music in 2020. I wonder why he had the time to do so. In March, there was Aporia, an album of ambient new age material in collaboration with his stepfather Lowell. This one is also fine. Then in October that year, Sufjan released The Ascension. I remember another colorful album cover with vertical text on the left and right hand sides. Yes, this is another electronic album in the vein of Age of Adz and Enjoy Your Rabbit. It had first started life back when Carrie and Lowell dropped, but grew and shifted during the years that followed. At one point, Sufjan was stuck, but was then revitalized thanks to Ariana Grande's Thank You Next. Just like Leviticus. Because of that past lineage, I found myself easily enjoying this record. But something is different this time. Age of Adz was the psychedelic high, The Ascension is the crash. There's a genuine bitterness here, inspired, according to Sufjan, by the culture of the 4 years prior. Of course, that doesn't mean there isn't beauty to be found. These songs are just as luscious as anything off Illinois, or Enjoy Your Rabbit, or Planetarium, which may be the closest point of sonic comparison. Tell Me You Love Me, or America, or Gilgamesh. Those songs will surround you with hushed, distant vocals, sharp electronic beats, swarms of synths, but they won't leave you with a feeling of resolution. You will always feel at a distance from them. Run Away With Me. Oh my God, no. Sufjan, don't get my hopes up like that, please. Or maybe you'll get dance beats like Atvian, Sugar, Ursa Major. Video Game is the most conventional song on here, with a great hook and a cool music video featuring Jalea Harmon. I don't know if you remember this, but Jalea was the one who created the Renegade dance back in 2020, and there was this whole controversy about whether other TikTok people were stealing the dance from her, so to see Jalea working at this scale is nice. The song I always come back to is the title track, because it kinda terrifies me. On this song, Sufjan just lays bare his frustrations and his naivete. It's so striking, like meeting your hero and finding out they're not a jerk, but they're just disillusioned with their own work. This particular section.
I thought I could change the world around me. I thought I could change the world for best.
Hits me harder with each passing year. I feel the same about my work sometimes. I like to think I've made some meaningful impact to how we as a people talk about music, but then I look on the internet and I have to confront the possibility that, in the grand scope of things, I haven't done anything. I don't know what to do with that feeling. Sufjan doesn't seem to either. All of this makes The Ascension, the album, sound like a downer, and fair, but it's one that I think will stay with me as I become more of an adult. For better or worse. The Ascension got good reviews like any Sufjan album should. No tour, unfortunately. I get why, of course, but man, I would have loved to hear some of these songs live. 2021 was just as busy for Sufjan as 2020. He continued the ambient train from Aporia with Convocations, a 5-disc set. This one is again fine. It's worth noting that this project was inspired by his father's death, so this can be seen as a companion piece to Carrie and Lowell, despite how different in sound the two are. There was also A Beginner's Mind, a collaborative album with Angelo De Augustine. The hook of this one is each song is about a film from the past 1 or 2 centuries. Silence of the Lambs, Return to Oz, Mad Max, Hellraiser 3. It's actually a nice throwback to the production style of Michigan or Illinois. Nothing to note in 2022, but in May 2023, he released yet another album of pieces from a ballet, Reflections, and in October 2023, Sufjan released his most recent mainline album as of now, Javelin. So I spoke about this one in my top 10 albums video last year. Yeah, spoilers, this one is excellent. And I said there are 2 ways to look at this album. The first is that this is another breakup album. This interpretation makes a lot of sense. Goodbye Evergreen, or God, Will Anybody Ever Love Me? Those lay out the story right in the title. Or the title track, which describes Sufjan accidentally throwing a javelin right at his partner, which I imagine they would not like. While the pain of these lyrics may be evident, you won't always feel it like you might on Carrie and Lowell or The Ascension. This album sounds beautiful. Sufjan said it was his own take on 70s LA studio opulence? Oh, be still my beating heart! Talk specifically may in fact be one of the most beautiful songs Sufjan has ever made, which is saying something when we're over 2 decades into his career. Plus, there are more uplifting moments like My Red Right Fox or the stunning closing cover of Neil Young's There's a World. But then, as you dig into the album more, you would find that Javelin is dedicated to Evans Richardson, whom Sufjan lost in April of 2023, and who was, quote, the light of my life, my beloved partner, and best friend. This news, if you're like me, would change how you view this album and what these songs could be about. And to be clear, I am not looking for any kind of confirmation from Sufjan about that. That is his business, not mine. It's just knowing that piece of info invites a reframing of what these songs could potentially mean. These might not be songs about breaking up with someone. They might be songs about losing someone forever. A song like So You Are Tired, when viewed with the straightforward breakup viewpoint, is about weariness in a relationship, or maybe the point where you realize things just can't work out anymore. But with the second viewpoint, maybe the other person is genuinely tired because of, say, illness or an injury, and Sufjan perhaps knows there isn't much he can do for his partner aside from letting them rest. Again, that's just my own interpretation. But regardless of how you look at it, simply put, this is another stellar album by Sufjan.
I'm Saffron Stonehenge, and I approve this message.
Javelin got rave reviews, with many saying it was his best album since Carrie and Lowell. This is minor Ascension erasure, but whatever. Sufjan also hasn't toured for Javelin, but that's largely because he was being treated for Guillain-Barré syndrome, an autoimmune disorder that basically paralyzed him. He offered the occasional updates late last year on social media, but those kind of stopped after a while, and there hasn't been like news that he has fully recovered. I suppose he doesn't owe us an explanation by any means. I just hope he's okay. As of now, the most recent piece of Sufjan Stevens media is Illinois, the Broadway musical adaptation of Illinois. I have not seen it yet, but it has gotten great reviews and is even up for Best Musical at this year's Tonys. Though I must say, if we are now reaching to critically acclaimed 2000s albums for musical inspiration, what's next? Yankee Hotel Foxtrot the musical? Supreme Clientele the musical? Death Consciousness the musical? If you want to get into Sufjan Stevens, I would recommend you check out both Illinois and Age of Adz. I think the two of them together paint a holistic picture of Sufjan's musical style, even if they are on completely different ends of the spectrum. After that, I would recommend Seven Swans, Carrie and Lowell plus the live album, and Javelin. And if you want to hear more about artists and their albums and their stories, check out my deep DISCOG dive on Kate Bush.